Hola, and welcome to Power and Perspective. I am April. This is Aaron.
Nailed it.
And we are reframing conversations with empathy and humor. Today we are talking about Ayurveda with Jen. Say hello, Jen.
Hello, everyone.
The other side, April.
Oh, darn it!
Here. No, I mean, we're here.
It was perfect.
Okay,
It was
people,
perfect.
she's over here when we... Oh, because my camera must be flipped.
I'm everywhere. It's okay.
Oh, that's what Ayurveda is about, huh?
Right?
You get to become,
My
you follow
spirit body.
Ayurveda and you're everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Jacob was just waiting for me to mess up. Did you see he typed finally in the chat?
Yeah.
It's like, finally April messed up again.
It's got to go in the supercut.
Oh, lordy, lordy. Ayurveda. So, I want to hear from Aaron before we get started with, should we have Jen explain it before we say our perspective?
Well, I mean, I feel like, so just for the sake of having said it, outside of the scope of our normal kind of framework here, that I have literally no idea what's going on. I took one quiz that I was encouraged to take by a friend of mine from work, Monique, who may be joining us tonight, hopefully. But past that, I literally am in the dark.
And if
I'm
you've never...
excited. What was your quiz?
Let
me guess.
Pitta. What is that? It starts with a P, he said.
Was it, what's your dosha?
Yeah.
Was it?
I think so. You took a quiz about what dosha you were, right?
Oh, there's multiple quizzes? Yeah, that's how in the dark I am. Like, I don't know.
And for those of you that don't normally watch the show, usually that's my position, is I know nothing. So this is fun.
Oh, you guys are switching it up tonight.
Yeah,
but let's be real. I don't know very much on this either. But I will tell you that I started looking into Ayurveda because it came up in something I was in or something I was doing. And I took a quiz and it said I was Veda, like imbalanced or something. Like you have to balance these things, and that I should be eating more hot cooked foods because I remember I was just feeling super tired, which I don't know, I still am feeling tired, but it said I should eat more hot cooked foods. And that made sense because I don't usually cook my food because I don't cook. So I just grab whatever's in the fridge, like eat raw vegetables, like raw cold things because I don't cook. So I was like, oh. So then I started focusing on eating hot foods. But I do absolutely love Oh, can you see it? My hot beverages.
Water. Yeah. I
Yeah.
noticed you said my hot water when you
Yeah.
said you went to get a drink. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I drink hot stuff. Hi, Marcy. Hello. Um, yeah, so that's all I know. So not much more,
It's an
Aaron.
absolute truth, though. I mean, of all the things for anything to say, if it said you need to eat more hot cooked foods, like there's no more complete statement about you, like no matter what your perspective is, than that.
That is true.
I would
So
say.
you agree with the assessment? I should eat more hot cooked foods?
I mean, as from a perspective of balance, yeah, from that side, for sure.
Yeah. I think it's all about balance. So now let's have Jen.
Yeah, what
Jen,
is
what
it
is
really?
what is Ira? What
No,
is it really? We've said what we what
yeah.
we know it is.
Yeah, no, and that's how most people find Ayurveda is how you did through a dosha quiz. And that's really about it. What's my dosha and how do I fix it? Because we live in a society of what's wrong with me? Can you diagnose it? And can I fix it? And that's
Yes.
our medicine, that's our philosophy, if you want to talk about philosophy. And we are very quick fix people, me included, right? I want to get on with my life. Why am I this? Why am I that? Great. Give me a pill. Give me a herb. Let's go.
It's
Yeah.
all about knowledge and
So,
concreteness.
yeah. And so that's, I mean, that's still a Western philosophy. So you can be very Ayurvedic, or sorry, you can speak of Ayurveda, but in still a Western sort of manner where you are just treating the dosha.
Yes, that's what I was doing. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so tell me. I even wrote down, I had a book. I wrote down all the foods that I was supposed to eat and all the foods I was supposed to not eat. So it could be like a shopping list. And like, yeah, it was exactly like you said.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great place to start. I'm not dissing that at all because guess what? When I started learning about Ayurveda, I was obsessed like no other for the first 6 months of like, but when am I going to learn my dosha? And how am I going to fix it? Right? And I still couldn't get over it. And I was 6 months into this year-long journey, and I was still uh, treating it from that kind of perspective. So it's very hard to break that. It's also okay that we're doing that. I mean, at least you're looking at the food you're eating. At least you're making that connection that, like, oh, there's a connection between how I feel and what I eat. And I mean, that's no surprise. We all kind of are headed in that direction no matter where we're coming from, right? But so that's one principle of Ayurveda. And what I learned is it's actually more about what is your Vikriti. So I'll be using some words in here and I will explain them. Sorry, but like what? So
Like, wait a minute, that's not a word I've seen.
no, there's a lot of Sanskrit that I use, and dosha is Sanskrit, and also so is more importantly is like what is your Vikriti, meaning like what is your elemental makeup to begin with. Okay, so let's take the focus off your dosha, like where you've gone out of balance, and let's talk about what makes you up. What is your makeup,
Like
sort of, so to
elements.
speak.
So just to be clear, Ayurveda is not just a way to eat.
And now I've gone way over your head. I'm sorry.
No.
I'll come back. Okay. No, Ayurveda is not just a way to eat. Thank you, April. It's not a diet. It's not even really, well, you could call it a lifestyle, but it's more of a philosophy. Speaking, which Aaron was like, what about philosophy just before we started? And it's like, this is more of a philosophy. So actually, I'll just go into the like smarty pants type definition of Ayurveda, if you don't mind, for a minute. And it is the oldest ancient root system, the oldest healing system known in text. So it comes from the Rig Veda, which was written billions of years ago. I don't know. Sorry, I don't have those numbers.
We don't have to know actual dates and stuff here.
Okay.
You could say a date and we wouldn't even know.
Yeah,
Except for
I'll
Steve and
say
Mike.
it.
Steven's like our
He'll
fact
fact
checker.
check.
He'll like
Okay,
post.
6,000 BC, Stephen. I don't know. Like, it was on stone. I have no idea. No. All kidding aside, it is a very yeah, it's a near and dear to my heart philosophy of life. And one of the books that was written in the Rig Veda was called the Shad Darshan. And from that is where we got modern ideas about Buddhism, or Buddhism is included in it. So Ayurveda encompasses, sorry to try and do it justice, and for those who are on here who are very well versed in Ayurveda, I apologize if I get any of these facts wrong, because I was taught in a feminine form way where we women are storytellers and we learn things through experience. So the school that I attended was very experiential. It was very, it took you kind of on a journey to learn about the principles of Ayurveda, and it was an amazing way to learn rather than, I didn't just buy the textbook and read the textbook. Although,
What she's saying, that's how I want all of education to be, or like a component, because you
yeah.
need to balance. There
I
should
thought
still
of
be a
you
balance.
today, literally, as I was thinking of that. When I was thinking about my course and how I learned this and how I came to know it, I thought of you because I was like, April's gonna love this.
Yeah.
But also, yes, also yes, I've been learning this like the other way for a really long time, and it sucks.
Yeah. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, okay, so maybe it's more like atypical learning, so that's okay.
Well, atypical in our current society with the norms that we have forced everybody
Yeah, it's a
into.
very
Yes.
complicated
Yeah.
Right.
That's
series of
an
ideas.
episode still to come.
Oh, I think we covered
Yeah,
it some
sorry.
still.
Oh.
I won't get off track, but what I'll say is like I had the opportunity before, okay, and this was like pre-COVID. This was in 2019, where I found this course and it was on Zoom, or not even Zoom then. It was like a different platform, Rizuko or something. And it was a year-long study of Ayurveda with women from all over the world, which pre-COVID, that really didn't happen. Like it is now, it's very common now, but before COVID, I actually chalk it up to my intuition, to be honest. Like I knew this was coming or something in my witchy ways. No, but seriously, sometimes I'm like, maybe I did know, and maybe I had a sense that I needed to do something different and way out there, and or not way out there, but sort of out there. And, but boy, did it ever serve me, not only because I spent a year learning online, which now that's all we do, and also because I was learning about things that were going to serve me for what we are going through now, which is huge transition and being asked to pivot or go inwardly and figure things out or whatever we're being asked to do during this pandemic, right? There's a challenge, there's a shift in perspective. And so that's why I think it's important to kind of dive into these teachings now more than ever.
So when you say healing, is that more like physical healing, mental healing, like emotional healing, or is it like all encompassing?
Those in Ayurveda, those do not exist separately.
Okay, so once you heal
yeah, so they are one in the same.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and you can have an imbalance that is in the mind, right? And also in the gut, and you can have these different imbalances, but Ayurveda is seeking to understand what is the root of the imbalance. And I'll speak to my own personal story about that because I'm really the only one that I know, right? So I can't talk to you about Aaron's dosha because that's Aaron's dosha. He knows more about his dosha than I do. So as a healer, that's a loose word, sorry. As a whatever you want to call it, Ayurvedic health coach, really my only job is to be a witness to your own healing, to bring awareness. And Ayurveda strongly believes that the healing is to be done from within, from your own um, body, and
And
what is your nature, right?
and it uses food as one of its tools.
Food is medicine. So in Ayurveda, like if you think of the ancient cultures, food was the medicine.
Yeah.
There was no other medicine, and actually all of our medicine came from herbs
It's
at some point.
derived, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not to say that they didn't use food as medicine, but more what the goal was to try and use food to avoid needing medicine.
Yeah.
Like herbs were still medicine.
Yeah.
But food was the tool used to avoid needing medicine, because food was what would support each system of the body. Yeah.
If I can just take a step back, just for kind of some historical context here, you were talking about Sanskrit. Was the philosophy like first detailed in Sanskrit? Is there like a tome is probably the wrong word, but that was translated over time, or what was the process of bringing this into our modern understanding of it?
Well, as far as what I know to be true, so one of the great doctors of Ayurveda, who brought it into English translation, would have been Dr. Ladd, whose textbook I have here. And it originated in India. So its roots in ancient India, though. So ancient India would have been Sanskrit. So at some point, and actually, no, I can answer this, Erin. So when in India, when British colonization happened, as we know, right, at some point in history, I don't, again, have the dates, but when the British colonization happened, the doctors of Eastern medicine, or Ayurveda, were actually slowly progressed into medicine doctors. And because the British demanded that there be the Western medicine, right? And to be called a doctor, you needed to be a doctor from a British standpoint. So what ended up happening is these doctors who were healers or Ayurvedic doctors in India ended up becoming and transferring over to Western medicine. And a lot of their philosophies and their teachings were lost, actually, because Western medicine sort of came in and took over.
Okay.
And that's a really loose translation of the story. But what ended up happening was at some point they realized their people were suffering because they weren't using their, the ancient medicine. And at some point these doctors kind of flipped it again and were like, hey, we need to bring back some more of our ancient principles.
That's what it says here. It says that today it remains a favored form of healthcare in large parts of the Eastern world, especially India, where a large percentage of the population uses this system exclusively or combined with modern medicine. So I wonder now this makes me wonder, is India healthier than us?
Well, it's funny you bring that up.
Probably everybody's probably healthier than us.
Well, it's funny you bring that up at a time when in the media, India is really struggling.
Oh, that's true.
And
duh.
It's I listened to one podcast with my teacher talking about this, and she said India is such a, like, I don't know what she said, but it's such a beast in the way that, like, it gets hit the hardest. The things people go through there, it always seems to, if there's like a world epidemic, if there's a pandemic, like India's, and they just seem to get hit, and it's like, why? And it's also the root of healing. It's also the root of these medicines, and it's also the root of the spice world, that if you go back far enough, right? So it's really interesting, and I think she kind of chalked it up to because they can handle it. And I was just like, what?
I wonder though if this might be super ignorant to say, so I apologize for anyone I'm about to offend, but I
Mhm.
wonder if there are any sanit
Yeah.
sanitation
Oh,
issues that
okay. Yeah.
cause
And
it.
so what I think more so what I listen when I listen to an Ayurvedic doctor living in India on this podcast. So again, I also may be totally offending someone right now, and I apologize as well. But she said, again, like, yes, people live, there's like 16 people in one apartment. They
Yeah,
don't have the luxury of space. They really don't. And
which
when
could cause
COVID hit there,
conditions.
she said, we have literally been in this four by, or no, you know what I mean, like 6 foot by 6 foot room for 6 weeks or however long they were completely locked down for, right? Because it was necessary. Because they really do, in some areas, live on top of each other. And
Yeah.
India is a wild, wild place that way. I haven't visited. I hope to one day, but it's funny, everyone goes to India to become enlightened or to, learn, and it's like you end up going through hell when you're in India, is from what I can hear, because you end up getting dysentery, you end up having to adjust to the environment, you end up it's busy, it's loud, it's like they're just go like if you go to Mumbai or something like that, it's just go go go. So
They
um,
also have less, so their expectancy is less. They have significantly less, this is so interesting, significantly less physicians than the United States has. The United States has 4 times more per 1,000 people than India, when, again, there's a large number of our physicians who are Indian.
yeah, yeah,
Well, and there's to speak to the whole idea of balance, that there is a significant like socio-political imbalance in India
yes, right
that
now,
causes all of
yeah,
those things. And there's a reason that, to what you were saying, that Indian food is so heavily spiced, um,
yes,
historically speaking, that has developed for reasons.
yeah, yeah.
To cover up what? To cover something up, or now I
It's
want to know.
usually you have like, so I'll talk
Spoiled
about it.
meat.
Yeah, spoiled food or Agni was very important. And we talk about Agni in Ayurveda because Agni is digestive fire, and it is fire of each dhatu of the body. Each system of the body has its own fire. And to not have strong digestive fire was pretty much gonna sign you up for death. So when you speak of the food elements, heat in food, like food have like 7 different elements in Ayurveda. Like there's bitter, sweet, hot. Um, yeah, I won't list them all. Sorry, you can look that up. But it's here. And anyway, so yeah, having heat in the food was super important to keep that digestive fire high. And like you said, the spicing was there to protect. Yeah. And keep that digestive system healthy. And still true today. And so, and why I kind of agree with that still in our perspective, even though we're not dealing with the same type of issues, is that we're dealing with what we call the standard American diet or the SAD diet. And I live it. I
That is
eat it too.
that is the best thing I've ever
Yeah,
heard. I'm
that's.
totally using that.
Yeah. You know what I mean, right?
Oh my God. No, that is the best.
You mean cheese and beef? Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, cheese and beef and bread. And deep fried potatoes.
Everything. Deep fried everything.
Everything deep fried, please.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jacob says we can put that on a mug. Sad diet.
Sad diet. Yeah. It's hard to get away from though. And so something I learned is like right in the US, you talk about first world problems, we talked about third world problems, we talked about this socioeconomic differences, but like then you talk about first world problems. There are food deserts right in the USA where you cannot get greens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So now we've got the reverse of this
Yeah,
problem.
we have it perpetuates again poverty. We're back to poverty and
Right.
sickness. And yeah.
Well, and we don't have
For
the
all
we don't have this
sorts of
we don't have the for the I mean to speak to Ayurveda, we don't have the uh, spiritual depth potentially to compensate. Like you said, that people travel to India for enlightenment and things, that we don't have that balance in that way, where that when we're focused on it, we're not focused on anything other than the food itself.
Right.
Yeah, and the food is not
Okay,
part
so
of
yeah,
spirituality.
thank you, Erin, because that's so cool that you said that. Because what we look for in food is maybe what we're seeking for in other ways. And I think that's what you were getting at, is that, we don't, and so what Ayurveda has taught me is to bring spirituality, to bring the sacred back into the everyday. And it's something we don't do in a quick fix society, I want this now and I want it because, and I'm going to have it.
Well, people
Society.
in the United States, people self-medicate with food and drink.
Right.
Like,
With everything.
Yeah, and
yeah.
everything and this is not to judge. This is like such awareness. Yeah. And you don't take the soother from the baby unless there's something to replace it. And so just think about, or you don't take the bottle from the baby unless there's something to replace it. Right. And so we have been soothing and I say we because I live here. I live in the modern world. I am by no means more perfect than anyone else, and perfection doesn't exist. So I love
am perfect. You
are. Well, only. Sorry, I forgot who I was speaking to.
Starting to develop a twitch right now.
She's perfect. Erin had to grow up with her, so he's like, yeah.
So he knows.
Yeah. But yeah, I say we, because we're in this together, we have to just start to look at it very slowly. And what I love, the way I learned Ayurveda, what I love about that is it was from a tantric perspective. And what Tantra says about everything is just that it's this and.
Yeah.
So it's cravings or unhealthy and all of this, or it's this and there's a place for it all. So more importantly for me was learning about the tantric philosophy in all of this.
And not tantric just was sex.
Yeah. No. Okay, but close to that.
April,
here we are to shortlining.
No, and so now we may get some more viewers, right? Because you said sex, and now we can talk about that. But
viewers all the time. We talked about sex workers the other day.
Oh, nice. But what we can talk about with Tantra is pleasure, and so finding pleasure in the everyday, and really enjoying what we quote unquote put in our mouth or take.
Philosophy. It isn't just about sex, people. In case you want to know.
Really? So we're not wrong.
Yeah. Isn't it? Am I thinking of the right thing? Like tantric?
Yeah. So there's tantric. So what we have is the book at chapters or indigo that everyone's like, whoa. Yeah. It's some sex position book that you hid or saw at some point. And that's where we learned about Tantra. Right? But there's more to it.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah. But there's more to it. And also the style of Ayurveda that I learned was also feminine form. I studied feminine form tantric Ayurveda. What is that? Right?
So is there a masculine form, or is that just an approach?
Oh.
So it's not a masculine form of Ayurveda. It's just using Ayurveda in a masculine way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bingo. Or using yoga in a masculine way, or using any of these philosophies in a masculine way, which is how we, by the way, all our structures are very masculine. So the feminine's been getting angry, right? Shakti, we call her. the Shakti has to come out. She doesn't like boxes.
Oh,
Okay.
she's been
So
pissed for a long time
she's
then.
pissed. Yeah. Well, and so another reason how my instructor who created this course came up with this was she was a yoga instructor for years in LA or something or somewhere like that. And she learned from in a very masculine traditional way the yogic principles that were brought to the North Americas. And our idea of yoga became all of a sudden it was a bunch of housewives and moms in yoga tights. Like, now we have yoga. Oh, okay. But where did it come from, and what was its purpose? And so back to India, original yoga and sort of those salutations that we all learn, like the sun salutations, all the poses, the warriors, if anyone's done yoga, there's a sequence of warriors, and all the moves were actually came from soldiers in India, young boys who
Really?
they taught yoga to the soldiers for discipline, similar to like a samurai would have learned.
Yeah.
And they used yoga, get this fun fact, they used yoga to teach these soldiers because it would shut down their nervous system and their sexual drive, and they didn't want any of them wanting or getting distracted from their duties as soldiers.
This explains so much in my life.
Did you do too much yoga? Did you overdo it?
Oh man.
So how much is too much yoga? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I know, right?
Your favorite abstinence
But
program.
crazy.
Yeah. So my wise instructor as a woman started studying this, and she realized that like women were actually shutting down their power center, which is our yoni. Sorry if I can say that word on here or not, but like
No, we use the word yoni because the word vagina means a sheath for a sword, implying that its only purpose is for men.
It's for the sword.
Yes. That is what vagina means. That's why we say yoni. I'm trying to get it to catch on, but my kids are like, no.
Thank you, April. Yeah, no one likes the word yoni either.
Right.
But did they ever like the word vagina?
No. Vagina is a terrible word.
It is.
Most words are terrible words.
This is this is worth a shirt, Jacob. We're changing the word vagina to yoni, but we got to say it in a clever way. But it's happening. I'm gonna spread it. I'm gonna spread the yoni.
Spread it. Oh, April. And you can.
You should be careful because yoni does flow very well with show me.
Show me the yoni.
You have to be very careful.
Yeah, so that's a great shirt. That's the shirt Aaron will wear.
Yes, show me yoni.
Oh my God.
It's
we're geniuses. Really, we are. Marketing genius. Who is writing down this gold? This is gold, people.
I hope so.
Yeah, Facebook and YouTube are writing it down.
Yeah.
As we speak.
We're gonna see these shirts out from like on our Google ads.
Someone's gonna steal it.
Yeah. It's gonna be Steven.
It's gonna be Steven. Steven really is only a fan of the show, so he could take all these ideas and become like this big marketing mastermind.
Taking note.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's happening as we speak. Yeah.
You're just an evil genius. So, with Ayurveda, what other, I would say food is like a part of it or a tool is a way. What other modalities or things or tools or whatever the word is do they use to help heal and keep in balance?
Okay, so yes, yoga is a part of the text.
Okay.
Yeah, is a text in the multitude of these texts. So yoga is one. The healing part comes through food. It is figuring out, your Vikriti, your Prakriti, which, you were born with, and I might have mixed those two up. And so using it's mainly centered around food, to be honest, April,
Okay.
but
That's what I
like
thought, like
movement
mainly.
balance. And then the philosophy of it, which I love, is just that, there's a witness and then there is the Divine Mother. And from that stems down to the collective consciousness, to the ego, um, the idea of self, right? And then to be seated in the self, which is sattva, which is another just philosophy. So meditation, it would be a big part of the healing. And so this isn't true of all practices, but because I studied Tantra and Kundalini yoga and Ayurveda kind of all at the same time, my practitioner who I learned from taught me these really, really incredible nervous system practices, which actually you might be really interested in as a teacher, even, for yourself or for the people you work with, because what they are is just bringing the nervous system back into parasympathetic. And so, that's the other thing when we left off talking about yoga, is a lot of the yoga poses are to encourage the sympathetic nervous system even more. And that's something that we're in all the time in our
Yeah.
modern world, right? If you've talked about, like, even just being on a screen, watching a screen or consuming information, or driving a car is a sympathetic response, but we don't have any tiger chasing us. So where do all those hormones go? Straight to our gut, right? Like
Oh, I have a
cortisol,
lot of them there.
yeah, fat buildup. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so,
Yes.
or the funny feeling in your tummy that you can't get rid of, in your nervous tummies that, like,
I call it a pooge.
oh, that,
Yeah,
yes.
That the
I got the
physical space.
pooge.
That's the physical space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The physical space it takes up, yes.
Is
And what
that not what we're talking about? Because I
it
just got
transforms
excited,
it.
maybe.
No, that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. Is what that stress turns into,
Yeah.
right? And we can
So
work out all day, but if we don't manage our stress,
I work out all the time and I
yeah.
don't eat bad. And this pooge is here for life.
So
Yeah.
what part of this? So when we talk about the healing and the role of food and meditation, so
Mhm.
this is all the idea of the food is healing is to sate spiritual needs. Is that kind of how it's approached? That we're not talking about food as necessarily a physical thing, but as contributing to our spiritual needs.
Yeah, good question. So, no, I would say yes, we're talking about food on the very basis of the physical, but
Okay.
that food eventually transforms. We essentially become what we eat. So, that does the purest essence of what food becomes is actually called ojas, which is like the zest of life, which is like the nectar, the juicy nectar that's going to keep us living for as long as possible in as much health as possible. And it comes down to like the synovial fluid in our joints and the things that dry up as we get old and the things that start to creak and the things that start to break down is all because of lack of vitality. And so using food to remain vital throughout the lifespan and using the cycles of nature to determine our day. And that's a really important part of this that I didn't sort of get to, because like it's so vast.
Yeah.
When you asked me the healing modalities, I was like kind of stumped there. But one really important piece is that we have a diurnal clock, right? And we have a cycle of the day, we have a cycle of the month, and we have a cycle of the year, and we have a cycle of our life. And with each movement pattern, or like, and it all follows the sun. And Aaron's going, what? And and so then and then throughout the month, or throughout the seasons, sorry, we have this diurnal, or this pattern, right? And so living in harmony with our natural environment and how that can support us. And like this COVID is a classic example of that. And why we're still in this in Canada, I believe, is because of our climate. And, not like we tend to have things seasonally differently than other parts of the world, or vice versa, right? And so being aware of that and being attuned into that has really served my immune system on a much vaster scale, right? Is being in tune, what to do in the winter, what to do in the summer, what foods to eat seasonally, so that I'm system throughout the year, so that I'm not working against Mother Nature. And a good example of this would be, okay, so you're sitting on the couch in the middle of February and you want a bowl of ice cream. And it's like, so the Divine Mother would say, like, yes, there's a craving. A craving is different than what does my body need. And it's learning to decipher between that. And so the ice cream is an actual craving that's actually going against your season, and it's going against probably what you need. So it's actually, that's your dosha showing up. And the tough thing about these doshas is that the more you're out of balance, the more the body wants to go out of balance, which is super tricky.
Because when you're leaning over and you're
Yeah,
out of balance, the more you go out of balance, the more likely you are to go more out of balance.
totally.
So that makes sense.
And there's a lot of philosophy, like Kantian philosophy and some Stoicism, that speaks to those cravings, being a slave to those sorts of things, and breaking yourself from those. That we have the lower instincts, and then we have the higher, the logic and everything else that we use to break ourselves away from those cravings and those things we're enslaved to.
I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad you use the word logic, because I think what I've learned so far, and which is hardly anything like this much of Ayurveda, is that you're not really breaking the logic as much as you are connecting back to the body in order to see what it actually needs and what is underneath that craving, and those are the pain points for people. And this is where the psychology comes in, right? And so it's like, well, I associate cereal with my dad, and I associate whatever with my mom. And some of that's really wise, because we all associate food with emotion, no matter who you are. From the first time, you're breastfed, that's your mom's love. Like, food is emotion. We can't just cut it off from that. But how much are we using to soothe?
This is crazy, because I hate food. Food is annoying. Having to eat is annoying. And emotion is also annoying.
Huh.
How many?
That's cool.
Also, if you think about our bodies in their natural states, without the human construct of being able to provide, every food at any time we want it, you know what I mean? Like, is not natural. So it makes sense that our bodies would be created to thrive more on this, the cyclical nature of the earth providing.
Yeah, and we're really, and I think why now this is important, why now I'm like, it has been building for years, but especially important now is because we're getting more and more out of touch with that.
Yeah.
And I think there has to be some balance. And so, I'm not about to go off grid and like build a hippie treehouse and grow my own vegetables, but I know I'm like also close. So because I would love to have my own little herb garden, and it's a dream. But that being said, like, we do need to get back to, and there's ways we can do that without going off grid. And I think that's what I'm here to teach, because when I learned this stuff, and it's all by word of mouth, it's all sort of that storytelling wisdom that was passed down to me. So I'm passing it down to you and my listeners, or whoever will pay attention, is that I'm not speaking to the people that maybe live off grid or are super out there. No, I'm actually speaking to the people to my people. Do you know
Like
what I
every
mean?
day. Yeah,
My,
everyday
yeah,
people.
because the point of being an Ayurvedic coach or practitioner is to reach the people that you align with, not
Yeah.
to try to go outside of your comfort zone and be that hippie in the forest, which trust me, I'm sure there was a point in my life where I was almost ended up there, but it's more so that I still need to be able to relate.
Yeah.
And in that relating, then I can say, hey, what about this?
Yeah.
Like, and here's a classic example. Lately, I've been big on this, and I'll tell people this all the time, is like, you need to go lay on the ground. And so it's not, it doesn't have to be as complicated as starting your own off-grid farm. It can be as simple as going to lay on the earth when you have a break from work.
Walk without
Like,
shoes.
yeah, without shoes, or with your kids you teach, or whatever office you work in. It can be, hey, like this small shift of like, what if we just connected back for a second to some of this root mother medicine, and what if we just added elements of that into our very modern, very busy day.
I like all the crossover I'm seeing because that's a lot of like connecting back with nature, walk without shoes, things like that is a lot of what I hear in, other modalities as well. Um, and I was thinking the other day because I was totally vegan for a little bit and it felt like poo poo, so I added fish back. But people who are vegan are usually are like, I want to protect all the animals. We shouldn't eat meat, and that is not why I am vegan. So when I add meat back, I consciously add meat back, but it makes me think of the Native Americans, right? And who, yeah, killed animals, but with reverence.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And with stewardship and like was grateful for everything that that animal gave them instead of like buying a slab of meat in the grocery store wrapped in plastic.
So you're making fish
Yeah.
jewelry? Is that just so I'm clear on where we stand?
I'm making fish jewelry. Is that what you
Yeah,
said?
is that what you're doing? Is that
No. Oh, because
She's
they
using
make
every part of her
yeah?
fish.
using every part of the fish.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry, I was so lost there. Yes. No.
No, but
No.
and this is why we become disconnected from our food. And
Yeah.
so it's like, let's find ways to get reconnected with our food. And I know there's a lot of people doing this, and I know there's a lot of farmers out there and ranchers that have completely changed the way they do business and are, they're seeking out soil that is, they're reconditioned or whatever, they're reconditioning the soil. So, because our soil is actually depleted, there's bigger
Yeah.
problems than just these little ones. But I mean, I only control what I can control in my little world. And, but being aware of it
Yeah.
all is a really good first step. And so, like, even though, oh, and this is a really good point. So back to the not so much what you eat, because I know we back to the beginning of our conversation, you said you created a food list, what not to eat, what to eat. You put it in a box, and there it is. And this is what
Yeah.
I'm going to do. And that's what we do. And so I just have to laugh because it's what we do. And so I want to remind people, whoever's listening, and for you guys, is not so much what we eat, but how. And really blessing that food.
Yeah.
Really, like, if I eat a steak from the grocer and it came wrapped in plastic, which I do sometimes, is okay, like, I'm gonna bless this, and I'm gonna actually take the time to enjoy it, and I'm gonna actually maybe take a minute after to digest it, and then my body's gonna be in a relaxed state so that I can absorb every good thing that came with that steak, and maybe the bad stuff and my body will take care of the bad, and trust that.
Yeah.
Because our system is so intelligent, and that's the basis of Ayurveda, actually,
That's
is not that we need the medicine, but it's that each cell of our body has a mission, has a job, and it is so intelligent. It is so intelligent that there's nothing on the planet that is more intelligent than the cells of this body. So our bodies, if we allow the chance, will heal.
Yeah. This
And
is what I bet you this is why I have, because really every episode is just about how I can fix myself.
of
But
course.
I bet you this is why I have a pooch, because I eat while I'm working. No, I
Yeah.
don't stress eat. I hate eating, so it's like I don't ever sit down and waste my time to eat unless I'm like at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll just eat it, like I'll cook it in the toaster oven, and I'll just take it right from the toaster oven and eat it really quick.
Yeah.
So that I can go
No,
on
and
with
you're
my
not
day.
like, that's not uncommon. That like
Yeah.
I have 3 kids. I would just eat while driving because when
Yeah.
else would I have time to eat?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
and so that's why I started to study this stuff. And if I was to coach April, you know, I would say our one practice, like I would make it so simple and say, you know what we're going to do? Once a day, you're just going to like light a candle with your food and have a little moment. And you're actually going to sit down and you're actually going to like take this moment and digest.
I'm totally gonna do that, and I can't even tell you how much anxiety just the thought of that brings up.
Yeah.
Just make it part of your
Okay.
meditation.
I know. I
Your
sit and
meditating
meditate forever,
practice.
and that's
Yeah,
not
so
a
that's
wasted
different.
time.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that because that's different. I can meditate too forever, but I can also get up and eat well working, eat well talking, eat well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is what we do.
Well, but the meditation's
doing
all
this-
about intentionality, right? So if
Yeah.
you're doing it, like making it part of that
If I
same
tr-
practice is to
Yeah,
create the
if I treat it
intentionality
like
in
a
eating.
meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can try to start there, but start very
Yeah.
small. That's the other thing.
That's good. Yeah, lunchtime. I'll
Start
have my-
very small. And even if it's you just like, even if you have to set a timer to be like, I'm gonna sit here without thinking about anything else, without doing anything else, and I'm actually gonna look at this food and I'm gonna be present with it going in my mouth with every chew. I know she's gonna throw up. She's like, no, that's terrible.
No, I'm gonna do it though. I'm gonna do
Smell
it.
even so, okay, so the 5 senses, like coming back to that, like smelling the food is huge preparation for like the eating of it. And even if it is your like Pop-Tart out of the toaster, I don't care if it's a Pop-Tart out of the toaster. Take a minute.
Don't eat Pop-Tarts, guys.
Well, whatever. Don't eat Pop-Tarts, but you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally know what you're saying, and that's so awesome. Yeah, I could even journal about my food. This is like what food coaches.
This was the first course I ever took where we were 6 months in, and she said, "Did you notice I did not give you a food list?
I know.
I did not give you a grocery list.
That's the first thing I did.
Yeah,
when
I didn't know. And so this is a different. I came into Ayurveda very differently than most.
Yeah.
People.
Holistically.
Yeah. Well, and just like, no, because as soon as you give Shakti rules and boxes, she wants to break them. And that's why women hate diets and why we should stop dieting.
Yes.
Sorry, Aaron. Men hate diets.
Well,
too.
diets don't work. I mean, from an objective
Yeah.
standpoint,
Diets don't work. Sorry.
the
It doesn't matter.
general idea of dieting is not productive. So, no offense taken.
Totally.
So, yeah. How much time do we have left?
I'm so excited.
We're
we
about
have
there.
like, yeah, we have like 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. Okay, because
We're not like, we don't have a lot of rules. Like,
oh yeah, good.
If we
Good, I
last-
don't like rules.
10 minutes. If we last 2 minutes,
Well,
man.
I wanted to get to Mo's question because it kind of breaks things down to a simplistic way of what you were asking or what you were talking about. She said so hot coffee when it's fall winter, iced coffee when it's spring summer, as far as the temporal relationship with food.
Yeah.
And is that kind of the idea? Like,
Yeah.
is that what our
Okay, so
body wants? I guess is.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what you're doing, first of all, I'll just go out on a limb and say, like, humans should never drink ice water.
I've heard that before, not
Yeah.
just from I've heard in the army too. You know, they wouldn't let us have cold water in the army. I
Oh,
I actually thought just because they were too lazy to bring ice, but it
yeah.
might have
There's a
had,
reason.
yeah.
Okay, so when you throw ice water on a fire, what does it do? Like, that's the best way I can describe it. So we have a fire, and this is our Agni. So I hope this answers Mo's question, because even if it's not seasonally, I just want to address the ice thing for a second. If you throw ice on a fire, you're going to put it out, and it has to work that much harder to get back up. So what you're actually doing is dampening your digestion. And so when you dampen your digestion, that's going to create residue called ama in the system, because your body's not going to fully digest the food unless you have a super strong digestive fire, which some people do. And it's like the opposite, but it doesn't mean you should dampen it with ice water ever. Yeah, so it's just like that's something I've started to avoid, and it took me a long time to get used to as well, to take the ice out of. But to answer the seasonal thing that Mo said, like, so drinking hot beverages, kind of like if ever you feel chilly in the day, it's a good idea to drink a hot beverage. So it's not just the seasons, but it's also, and yes, like to definitely avoid icy, cold things in the middle of winter is not, yeah, it's not great for us.
So I love hot beverages, even in Vegas in the middle of summer. So it's 115 out, and I still get hot tea.
Yeah,
Like,
I
is
think
that
that's
because
great.
is it an addiction, a craving, or is it because that's what my body is like wanting?
You can never, I don't think you can ever go wrong with hot
Too
temperature.
hot, just
No,
too cold.
where you can go too hot with is if it's 40 degrees and you're craving a margarita and some spicy tacos, because so you're adding, and that's what we do, right? So culturally a lot of this doesn't add up. Okay, so culturally this doesn't add up, because we have a lot of things we celebrate that are not um,
Ours.
necessarily ours or necessarily like aligned with our seasons.
Yeah.
But alcohol is a more like heat producing, creates heat in the body. You know how people get flush when they drink?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So going out on a hot day, you're adding fire to fire. And that's going to increase your pitta, which is the fire.
Pitta. That's the word I was trying to think of, Aaron.
Yeah, that's the quiz results.
Like an hour later. Yeah.
That you're a pitta?
Yeah.
Sorry, your dosha is a pitta?
Yeah.
That was for Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah, pitta dosha. Yeah.
I
Makes
was a
sense.
little Pitta and mostly Veda.
Yeah. Vata. Yeah. So,
Vata.
and so here's the thing. I know for myself, I am my prakriti, sorry, my makeup, like who I was born as, is 100% pitta, is what I was told by an Ayurvedic doctor, actually, from India. So that was really cool. And so because I after I took this year-long course, I finally went to a practitioner and then was like, okay, let's see how I'm doing here. And she took my pulse, and it was so awesome because she was like, you're pitta. You're pitta. Your pulse says you're pitta. Everything says you're pitta. And she's like, oh, but that vata. And I almost cried because like pittas traditionally are very like driven, strong, very intellect, like always know what they want. Not always know what they want, but they have a direction and they go in it, and they get their stuff done, and yeah, I would say that. But when my vata dosha, after having 3 kids, being spread a million different directions, that's wind, right? And so the wind was taking out my fire,
Yeah.
or fueling it, and so explosive anger. What does wind do to pitta, to fire? Mom's freaking out. Why? Oh, right. So that's how these things show up. It's not just the food. it's the mental like game too that's going on, right? If you're not paying attention to your food and you're also like fueling your pitta too much, like I do this in the summer a lot, is heat on top of sun on top of booze. It's just like, give me more pitta, like, right? Because we have such a short season. It's not very wise because I'm throwing my body right out of imbalance or right out of balance, sorry, like during that season. And I'm going to have to make up for it in the next season. And so these things are sort of always growing and cyclically. And if we don't ever kind of like look at it, it's where the disease stems from, kind of the root
Yeah.
of the
There's
disease.
so many things. It's so interesting. The more you learn about more different things, is how many things are like crossover and overlap. And like eventually we're just gonna realize everything is just one thing. It's
Yeah,
all just one thing, and we've named it or called it different things and like
yeah.
stretched it and like put it over here, put it over here. But
Put a
really it's
label
just,
on it.
yeah,
Yeah,
really it's all just one thing.
yeah. Well, and you have to remember we're all just humans and we all came from the same somewhere,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
the fact that all these one things keep coming up isn't
Yeah.
an accident, because from the ancient basis this is where we came from.
Yeah.
So it's very cool. Yeah.
Very cool. Now I need to find myself a person to tell me what I was born as.
Yeah. I think you know.
I was probably born Veda because the Vedas don't like to
You know
eat.
what a good test is? This is fun for people to do, and we can share this. And
Oh
Erin, you
yeah.
too. So go like this. Wrap your two fingers around your wrist
Okay.
like this, and if they just touch, okay, so like their mine just touch like this much, like just touch my two fingers. Okay, so that's pitta. If they wrap quite far away around and you almost can overlap them,
Uh-huh.
that's vata nature.
Oh yeah.
That's you,
Yeah.
right? And if they don't touch at all, that's kapha nature.
Yeah, mine don't touch at all. I've
Oh,
got
you
like an
kapha.
inch,
Yeah.
Kapha.
but I have tiny infant hands, so maybe that's a thing.
No, but no, it doesn't matter what size of your hands are, and everything adds up. So the size of your hands, also the size, everything sort of adds up to that making up, and that's just a fun little test.
So
Like
what
it
is
That
doesn't.
what
is
is the
fun.
kapha then?
Kapha.
What does that
Kapha is
represent?
kapha is more well. I'll give you the elementals of it. Is earth and water. So it's cool, calm, which I can see Aaron is. But you've got fire. You've definitely got fire. But that might be your dosha. But you might be kapha by nature. Just saying.
Interesting.
Like,
It
yeah.
says you seem to be patient and understanding. You can calmly handle several issues simultaneously and answer other urgent questions. You retain what you have learned and can remember minor details. That's super true.
Does that define Aaron pretty well? Yeah.
She
You have
would know better than
declared
me. I'm not that in touch
Yeah.
with myself.
you have declared regularity and routine as their life principle. It all sounds very positive, but they also have a tendency towards overeating, insufficient exercise, and excessive sleep. Well, he doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
That's
But a
recent.
kapha, so that might be the pitta imbalance, right? With the mental fire. But the kapha nature is actually really awesome because kaphas can work out. Kaphas can put their body through a lot of things that like a pitta or vata couldn't, because they have that strong kaphic body. Like you can actually, yeah, like
Yeah.
you can put yourself through more. And for example, like I have a friend who he can train and like run and do all these crazy, like, I'm gonna do an Ironman and I'm like, I would mentally, I want to do that, right? Mentally, and I would try, but since I learned all this, I was like, actually, Pitta isn't about body strength, it's more about mental strength. Kapha is body strength, like where you actually
That's
have the
why you can
reserves. You have the reserves to push your body.
that's why
We
you can
don't have,
paddle upstream.
yeah, us little vatas and pittas, we don't have the kapha to like put our body through that.
That's
Yeah.
my
So
favorite word, kapha.
kapha.
Yeah, it would definitely explain the 13 miles and 25-mile-per-hour headwinds the other day.
Yeah, that was crazy. And it says you have smooth porcelain skin and
Yep.
snow white teeth. You should
Yep.
look
I
it
don't
up.
know if those
This
two.
is,
I don't know if those two things
Yeah,
are
and
true.
when you go deeper into
I don't
these,
know.
when you go deeper into each of these elementals, it gets really interesting because there's another like essence of kapha, which is like ojas, which is I talked about ojas is like really, really like potent, juicy vitality of life type juice. And so that gets really cool when you get into these like elemental, when you go really deep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know enough.
Well, and neither do I. And so that's why I just kept going and I'm not
Yeah.
stopping.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about
love
most things is that we never really
Yeah.
know, and there's
Yeah.
always more to learn.
Do
Yeah.
Vadas sweat like pigs? Because
Well, I also do as well.
armpit.
That is a vata, that could be a vata imbalance. Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
be. I only have a tiny light, Aaron. It's very tiny. One tiny light. Why do I sweat like a pig when I sit in this chair?
Because you're nervous.
I'm very nervous. Crazy
You're
pants.
nervous? No.
I'm not nervous. No, no.
I don't know. I'm with you, April, though. I'm a sweater. I just think it's because we care so much.
Yeah, but I only sweat from my armpits though. Just
Yeah,
my
same.
armpits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Your
just
armpits
like I have
there.
to change my shirt before noon most days.
Yes.
Yeah. Me too, girl.
Really, this is very
Yeah.
interesting.
Let's figure this out. I honestly think it's just because we love everyone so much, but
Yes. My love is coming out my armpits in
Yeah.
the form of sweat.
we care so much that we
So
just
from now on, I'm gonna be like, I love you. I love you.
this is how much I love you.
Her dating profile's gonna get real weird now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh goodness! Thank you so much for coming on, Jen. This was
Thank
like
you.
amazing. I have learned so much, and now have to go do much more research. Ooh, Mo said something very interesting. Would you recommend April to eat some ghee and more grounding foods? I did hear somewhere that I
Yeah.
should eat ghee.
Oh, yes. Okay. That's a whole other show. But ghee is amazing. So yes, ghee, yes to that, Mo. Grounding foods for vata, definitely more oil. And ghee is a very like I don't say powerful oil. How do you describe it? It can cook at a really high temperature. It doesn't dissociate the way olive oil does, so it can handle a lot. And in India, ghee was it's clarified butter. So it's taking the fat out of the butter, like the milk out of the butter, basically. And so you're just left with the essence of cow's milk. And it is worshipped and revered in India for
I
that
used
purpose.
to eat it all the time, and for some reason haven't lately. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give me some
So
ghee.
pouring that on your food, cooking your food, April, yes, stick with that. A vata person, sorry, I just have to go off on this, should never eat raw food.
I know.
Yeah,
I've learned. It's really hard.
it's really hard on you.
I hate cooking and I hate eating. Such a pain. But I'm going to, and I'm going to light a candle.
And grounding exercises, putting your feet on the ground, even sitting down on like a foam roller, grounding down to your root, because that's your root chakra, rooting down, those kinds of activities that'll keep you less out here,
Yeah.
and you can it'll support you. Yeah.
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 Love it.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I read one more thing?
Yeah.
Of course.
I just thought I had to share this. Okay, so I found this today, and it was about the Buddhists in Ayurveda. And it says, do not worry, and this is very timely, sorry. Do not worry about disease, because disease is going to end. Have patience. Buddhist philosophy says there is suffering, and a simple way to go beyond suffering is to have patience, to give time for pathogenesis, which is the root of disease, to eradicate itself. That is what Buddhism has given to Ayurveda. And I just thought that was really beautiful because we're in this pandemic, especially up here. It's really tough right now. And the simple solution is to have patience.
That's science.
I need to learn patience. So I thought that was a good message.
I love it. It's teaching us something.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jen. And everybody can check Jen out on her Insta, which is no.
Yeah, right there.
There.
Yeah. At Sacred Soul Ayurveda.
I'm everywhere.
For anybody who's
Yes.
not looking and just listening today.
Oh, true that.
But thank you guys for coming, hanging out,
Pleasure to be here.
and asking questions. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends so we can get more people in here. Anybody who has more questions and anything you guys want to hear about, please let us know. But next week, I think we're going to be talking about the importance of developing a personal philosophy and kind of how that relates to having meaningful conversations with people and getting outside of yourself and kind of expanding your worldview.
Ooh, is this going to fit into our framework? Should I bring that out?
A little bit,
I
and
still have
it'll
it.
probably get into a little bit of our difference in approaching life too. So that'll be fun.
Just do it. I follow Nike's rule. Just do it.
That's horrifying
do
for
it.
so many reasons. But we'll see you all next week, and in the meantime, please have meaningful conversations.
All right.